Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
And I'm Office Bloke Max.
Here we are, all three of us together.
Hey.
The story of Hotel California is weirder than you thought.
Oh, really? I don't know the story at all, to be honest, but...
It's kind of like expresses it in the lyrics, doesn't it? So like it talks about what it could be.
Yeah.
You know, you can check out anytime you like.
Oh, right, okay, yeah,
things
right.
like that. It's kind of, I've never really thought about what the story is behind it.
No, I've not really.
Apart from what the lyrics sort of like suggest.
Yeah.
You know, but this guy's quite good at explaining a lot of the songs.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of things of his before, haven't we?
Yeah,
He's
quite like
pretty
this
good
channel.
usually.
Yeah. Should we get into it? The story of Hotel California is weirder than you thought.
The story of Hotel California is weird, and it's a story that has a very sad ending. The song began as a demo written by Eagles guitarist Don Felder. Felder would often bring instrumental demos he'd written at home to the recording sessions so that the other members could help write lyrics and turn these instrumental ideas into fully worked out songs. For each album he'd bring in 15 or so songs, most of which wouldn't be used, but every now and then there'd be one that might have potential. Don Felder wasn't actually part of the original Eagles lineup, only joining during their third album. This meant that by the time of making Hotel California, they actually had 2 guitarists in the band. And the demos he was bringing along offered a chance for the band to try something musically very different.
I wanted to write something musically that would fit 2 guitar players that we could play off of each other.
This instrumental demo, which unfortunately has never been released, became known as Mexican reggae. But at this time, there were no lyrics, there wasn't even a theme to the song. So Don Henley and Glenn Frey started to think of an idea that could fit with Felder's demo. This was now the mid-70s, and the Eagles were making a conscious effort to try and move away from their earlier country sound, and more towards the rock sound that was the sound of the mid-70s. The demo as well...
Do you think this is probably one of the biggest songs of all time? Or if not the biggest song of all time?
It's definitely one of the biggest. It's right, everyone knows it. It's right up
in the
there.
top 5.
I think it probably would be, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously everyone's got an opinion. It's sort of like subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Your
for
top
me,
5 would be like Bohemian Rhapsody, Hotel California.
Hotel California's got to be...
Probably like 3 Queen songs in there.
Yeah, there's certainly got to be a
The
debate
Beatles.
about it anyway. It's definitely got to be up there.
Yeah, I think
I'd
so.
say.
offered something mysterious, something cinematic, and the idea of California soon became an obvious theme. None of the Eagles were from California, and they all saw themselves as visitors to this epicenter of the musical world. They came up with the idea of a traveller who, tired from driving a long distance in a desert, saw a place for a rest and pulled in for the night, but instead entered into this weird world.
Don Henley and Glenn Frey, especially Don, wrote some just brilliant lyrics. Don, as a lyricist, writes these little postcard pictures, and he throws you a picture on a dark desert highway. You can see that. Cool wind in my hair, you can feel it. The warm smell of colitas, you can smell it.
This was how the Eagles saw California. They were all visitors there, they all moved there, dreaming to make it as musicians. But it turned out to be this really weird place.
You know, we were all from different parts of America. Everybody was going to Los Angeles. That's where everybody was, to try and make it. California at that time was this big hotel, was this big melting pot of people with talent trying to fit in. And that's what we meant about California at the time.
Their change away from country also allowed them to experiment more with their lyrics. They were big fans of Steely Dan, who often wrote abstract and weird lyrics. And in one of their songs, they mentioned the Eagles. So in return, Hotel California contains a playful nod to Steely Dan. In terms of a real hotel that inspired the song, the closest was the Beverly Hills Hotel, one of the best known hotels for rock stars and celebrities. And it's also the hotel that features on the cover.
Yeah.
I love this cover, by the way. It's actually quite a blurry photo, but it has such a vibe, such a mood. It really captures the mystery of the hotel, and it captures being at a distance. I think it's great. But its blurriness and the way it was shot actually happened by accident.
Hotel California was possibly one of the most expensive album covers I've ever worked on. We shot the Beverly Hills Hotel as the sun sank slowly into the west. He would duck down and I would use his back as a tripod. And then I'd run out of film and I would duck down and he would use his camera on my back.
The Beverly Hills Hotel were furious when they discovered they were featured on the cover, and even threatened to sue. But when it became clear they were actually making a ton of money from the publicity, they soon relented. I researched many different stories for this channel, and with so much news out there, it can be difficult to know exactly what to believe and who to trust. So when researching different topics, I used Ground News to have a better understanding of the whole story. Ground.news/Hartley. Because the song wasn't written by one person, when it came to recording the song, it had to be sort of put together as they recorded it. Actually, because the recording session took place so long after Felder had written the original demo, by the time it came to record the song, he'd forgotten how the demo went.
Don Henley came in the control room and said, no, stop, what are you doing? And I went, well, we're playing the guitar parts for these. He says, no, that's not right. You have to play it like the demo.
Felder had to make a call to someone at home, find the cassettes, and play it over the phone so that he could relearn it.
Brilliant.
The song actually went through several different versions before sounding the way it does today. They first recorded the song's basic tracks without any vocals or overdubs, but when it came to record the vocals, it was at the wrong tempo. So they went back to re-record the basic tracks at the right tempo. Don Henley then later went in to record his vocal, but he was singing in this high falsetto voice.
Because I wrote it in E minor, which was a good guitar key to play in, right? And so we wound up moving it down to B minor, which is not a fun, friendly guitar key, you know? But anyway, that's where Don's vocal really set best his range, so that's where we re-recorded the whole thing for the third time and finally redid all the guitar parts and everything else.
By now, they had moved from recording in LA over to Miami. Producer Bill Zimzik was concerned about there being an earthquake in LA, so he asked for the recording to be moved to Miami. But as they got to Miami, they came across even more problems. On numerous occasions, recording had to stop because Black Sabbath were recording in the next door studio, and they were so loud it could be heard in the Eagles studio.
Story,
Absolutely
wow.
no chance.
Fry was still unsure about the lyrics, continuously working to try and perfect them. They spent 3 days on their own away from the rest of the band, just working on the lyrics, so that Don Henley could get on with recording his vocals. Although the Eagles played live together when recording in the studio, the finished song on the record was actually made using 33 edits. By the time we recorded the third version, we'd pretty much refined what we wanted and everything was set, including the arrangement and the tempo. I had a system where I'd pull all 5 takes of however many reels there were, and I'd put them all on a master reel. Then I'd cue it up and listen to all 5 intros and pick one, listen to all 5 verses and pick one, and then go back and physically lop it all together. One of the things the song is best known for, of course, is the guitar solo at the end. It's one of the most famous solos of all time. But how did this work? Because the Eagles now had 2 guitarists. Well, as Don Felder mentioned when he first wrote the song, he wanted to try and make something that worked for 2 guitars.
And I started trying to conceptualize how Joe and I, who had just joined the band, could do that guitar dueling thing on the end of the song.
If you haven't listened that closely before, you might think it's just one guitar or maybe overdubbed, but if you listen carefully, you can hear there is a difference in tone. The session of the solo took place over 8 hours, just Felder and Walsh jamming with each other on the solo. When the album was finally completed, the band sat through a playback with record executives.
When the Hotel California cut came by, Don turned around and went, "Yep, that's going to be our single." And I went, "Don, that's the wrong song."
The record company said, you got to do an edit. And we all said, no, take it or leave it.
And so it became the single. The song and the album became instant classics, becoming Eagles' best-selling album and one of the best-selling albums of all time. And it was this perfect moment between the country style they started with and this move towards rock. One of those moments where everything comes together and just falls into place. It was no doubt a high point for the Eagles, not just commercially but also creatively. But as so often happens with these high points, things start to go downhill. After releasing Hotel California at the end of 1976, they released one more album, The Long Run, in 1979, before breaking up the following year. This change in direction that gave them such success with Hotel California soon saw them drifting apart. Heated arguments behind the scenes soon became common, especially between Don Felder, Don Henley and Glenn Frey, the 3 who each helped to write Hotel California. This great moment in their history would start to get very weird. Following the breakup, they each pursued solo careers. Don Henley saw the most success with a string of hits and albums in the 80s. Glenn Frey also did very well. But Don Felder, his success was more modest, and instead he focused more on family life and getting involved with other musical projects rather than building his own solo career. 14 years after breaking up, Eagles reunited for a one-off MTV special, which resulted in the live album Hell Freezes Over, a reference to a quote by Don Henley about the possibility of an Eagles reunion ever happening. But at their first live performance in April 1994, Glenn Frey told the audience, "For the record, we never broke up, we just took a 14-year vacation." In reality, there was something very different about this new era of the Eagles. The success of the Hell Freezes Over reunion led them to go out on tour and permanently reunite. But when it came to organising the finances of the group, things had changed. Henley and Frey wanted more money.
I'm not going to do it unless Don and I make more money than the other guys. We're the only guys who have done anything career-wise in the last 14 years.
As our friend J.D. Souther used to say, time passes, things change.
In the original days before the breakup, everything was split 5 ways between the 5 of them in the band. So understandably, Don Felder wasn't happy about this new arrangement.
So when they decided they were entitled to more money, I said, oh, okay, but let's just try this and see how this works. And if there's still problems with it, we'll renegotiate.
The tour went ahead as planned, but when it came to renegotiate, Henley and Frey maintained their belief that they were entitled to a greater share.
And I called Felder's representative. And I said, "Hello, Barry, this is Glenn Frey. I'm sorry you happen to represent the only asshole in the band. But let me tell you something. You either sign..."
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, just because they've done something else in the careers, it's...
Well, they kept the names relevant, haven't they?
I guess so. Maybe kept the band relevant as well.
I mean, if a band goes away today that you really like, and
Yeah.
disappears, and a couple of them keep and you like their music, and then they say we're getting back together again, you're going for the 2 people that you've probably been watching still over the last few years.
Yeah,
isn't
so
it?
then over the last 14 years, they might have kept the Eagles more relevant because they're still out there.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I actually get it then.
And
it's a good point.
And they were the original Eagles as well, wasn't they?
That's right.
For
Yeah,
that sort of thing. So he wasn't, was he?
Felder, he joined after the 3rd album, wasn't it, something?
Correct. So they already had 2 albums out. And I get this was the biggest, but I still think that's they're probably not being unfair.
That's actually a good point.
You probably sort of like got to hold your hands up and go, do you know what? I'm the 3rd member here. You know, sort of like out of 3.
Yeah.
And out of the other 2, they probably deserve more than me. So I'll quite happily sort of like take a back step and say, yeah, you know, it's you're still going to make a lot of money.
No, of course they would.
I
mean,
they're going to make a hell of a lot of money. You're just going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
But it depends on what the share they're talking about is. You know, whether they're talking about they want 40% each and the rest get 20% between them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Then that's a little bit. You know,
I suppose if you're on tour and you're all doing the same thing, you think, well, at last moment in time, I'm doing as much as they are.
Yeah.
So why am I getting less? That's probably their way of thinking.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've kept them relevant, I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
This agreement before the sun goes down today, or we're replacing Don Felder.
Felder was out of the band. He sued the Eagles, but Henley and Frey countersued Felder when he released a book telling the story of what had happened. The case was settled out of court, and Don Felder never rejoined the Eagles.
Oh, wow.
The 3 songwriters of Hotel California, this song about a weird world full of weird people, in a way, that's what they became.
It just broke my heart. I miss these guys, but I really miss the friendship and the music. Okay.
I'm emotional, isn't he?
Yeah. It was a brilliant song.
Yeah.
Absolutely superb.
I watched them, was it last year in concert? I think it was like, I don't know, what month are we on now?
It was still going. Wow.
Yeah, I watched them last year at the Co-op.
Yeah,
They did like about 5 nights at the Co-op, I think. Maybe even more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Like, not
And
the same, or like, absolutely fine?
Sounded exactly the same as what they did, you know, of old
Really?
sort of thing.
Yeah,
it
well,
was
superb
brilliant.
musicians anyway.
Yeah,
aren't
they
for
did
stars,
all the music that you'd know, you know,
Yeah.
all the top songs they did, and the crowd was just incredibly, you know, everyone was sort of taken back.
Yeah.
It was it was a really top concert.
Yeah.
And I think every night they played at Manchester in the Co-op, which holds, 27,000 people?
Something like that, yeah.
Sold,
It's a lot.
sold out. Sold out every single night. Yeah.
That's a lot of people. That's well over 100,000 people watching, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they might come back and did more as well. I think they did like a stint of I think it was called a residency. So I think they did like a few nights. Then there was the other artists on them. They came back and did about 4 more nights again.
Really?
So it was like one of them type things. Yeah,
good going.
I'm not sure how many nights they did overall, but it was quite a few.
And the Hotel California, of course, it's what 6-7 minutes long. It's a fair play to get that out as a single. It's pretty rare in the 70s, really. I know Bohemian Rhapsody was. I mean, you couldn't edit that anyway.
Hey Jude.
Hey Jude, yeah. There was one or two, but it was pretty unheard. Most of them like 3 minutes, and that was pretty much it for radio airplay, because radio stations didn't like it. So to stick to the guns and get it out, you couldn't edit that again, could you? Because you just couldn't.
Yeah, in the concert, I don't think they finished on Hotel California neither. You would kind of expect they would, but they didn't.
Oh, so right, okay.
I can't remember what they finished on, but it wasn't Hotel California.
That's what you'd expect, actually, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it's something like I can't remember.
Might be like a cult favourite.
Yeah, it was. He did everything, you know. Every song he did, you did like, all. Yeah, but it was every song they did. I kept saying the same song over and over again, because they all sound pretty similar when they start part of Hotel California. I'm not a massive Eagles fan. I went with Gaynor, who quite likes the Eagles sort of thing. So for me, it was like took Gaynor's mum, and it was. But for me, I was just like, I know just the regular big songs they did. If they start doing like little B tracks and stuff like that, I'd be like, nah, sort of thing. You know, my time I go to the bar. As soon as you start the few first beats, and I'm like, nope, don't know this one. I'm out with drinks. Good show. Good story though, isn't it?
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah,
when they're talking about the hotel you can check out anytime, you never leave, and they're talking about the whole of California.
That's right. Yeah,
or LA itself, sort of thing. It's kind of like meaningful when you think about how it gravitated everyone into that sort of like scene sort of thing.
I love it when they come up with lyrics like that. Yeah. And it comes when then you know what it means. It sort of like just comes together. You think, right, that's what it is. You know, they're a bit abstract, aren't they? But then,
and you go,
you think, right, that's what it's about.
Your son's in a band. He's quite a successful band at the moment as well.
Yeah, doing okay.
Do they take inspiration from sort of like lyrics that are wrote from other,
I think bands? All sorts. I mean, like things like this, all over things like this. All the classic songs from the 60s, 70s, 80s. All of them. So absolutely, they always take inspiration from these big classic bands. Who wouldn't? You'd be stupid not to, wouldn't you? Really?
Because someone played me a song. Someone played me a song the other day and said, "This is your type of music. Do you like it?" And I listened to it and I went, "That's banging." I said, "Who is it?" I said, "It sounds like what's the Scouse band called?"
Coral?
No, of old.
Of old, Beatles.
no, younger than that. I can't remember what they're called. It'll come to me as soon as we go. What's it? They sound like Seven Seas and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember what they're called.
Echo and the Bunnymen?
Echo and the Bunnymen.
Right.
I said, it sounds like Echo and the Bunnymen, this.
Nice. Yeah.
And I love Echo and the Bunnymen sort of thing. And I'm like, this is like my type of music. And he went, this is a band called Spangled. I went, Spangled?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's it was, he's your son's band.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it sounded great.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the solos Jamie used to play, when years ago when he was practicing and stuff. He goes for all the solos and stuff like that, all the classic ones, and that's one of the ones that he used to play. It sounded absolutely amazing, but it's just a classic song, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, and if you're not onto him, get onto Spangled as well.
Yeah,
go for it. Time you're missing out. Don't miss out on that. But I enjoyed that. Great story.
Yeah, really
I like
good.
the channel as well. I like the way he talks.
Yeah, he's very, very
good storyteller.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.